Dedicated to reestablishing constitutional government. First, reestablish Oregon's constitution, and then eventually, hopefully, we can reestablish the United States constitutional government. In order to have a constitutional government, you need to have people in positions of in public office that actually believe in the Constitution. And that's why I've had my guest here, Mike Nearman, on. He's Representative, House District 23, and I believe he's one of those people that supports the Constitution.
City.
And Mike, one of the things that I noticed the other day, and I've noticed it throughout the years, one of the legislators, she got up and she said she didn't like a bill. I think it was the bill that gives the judges power to give class action lawsuit money to legal aid. Now, but she was going to vote for it, and she was hoping to work with the senators to try to change it so that it'd be a better bill. Are you going to be doing that, voting for bills you don't like and hope the other chamber improves them?
Well, so that was Representative Parrish that did that.
Yeah.
And I get that. That's just a tactic thing. I don't think that's really my style there. I'm kind of a pretty direct person. I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. So there was a vote today on the floor, and it was 58-1, and I was the one.
Good.
So, but you know, I don't want to knock Representative Parrish or anything like that. That's her tactic, and I think she's hoping that the Senate will fix it. Sometimes it's like that. There's a bill that has some good parts in it, some bad parts in it. So she got up and she spoke against the bad parts, and apparently, I won't speak for her, but she thought that the good parts outweighed the bad parts, and she voted for it. I voted against it. I thought it was pretty clear, not a good bill. But.
Yeah, I didn't care for the bill either. I'm glad you voted no. Today I was at the legislative hearing on a subcommittee on House Bill 2177, which makes it automatic that when you get your license renewed or your license, you're going to automatically make you a voter. Tell us more about that and where you stand on that issue.
You know, I don't think that's a very good bill. And even the Secretary of State, when she testified for it last week, she said that this is changing the paradigm from an opt-in kind of system to an opt-out kind of system. Yeah. And I think that you know, voting is a privilege and it's a responsibility, but it's not something that the government should force someone to do, because there's some people that don't want to. They either don't want to vote or they don't want to be registered to vote for a variety of different reasons. Some of them are religious reasons. Some people don't care to serve on juries or whatever. So there's a variety of reasons. Or some people just don't want to be bothered with to vote or whatever, which is sad. But for that, so I don't. The bill has other problems with it too. You know, they advertise it that it has an opt-out thing, but all of that data is going to go from the DMV to the Secretary of State, whether or not you opted out. And then once you opt out, if the system works as designed, then she'll take you off the rolls there. So that concerns me. I'm a IT person. I'm a software engineer by trade, and I kind of know how some of these data flow issues or whatever, especially when you're dealing with the state of Oregon, don't always work out as planned, and so it worries me that we're doing this. So I think I'm going to be voting no on this, and I think you'll see a pretty lively floor speech from me on that day too. So
yeah, you know, when last November they were having, or actually I guess it was September in there, they were having problems with the Secretary of State's computer. And I was trying to get in, 'cause I was going to be a candidate. And I was trying to do my, I wanted to collect signatures. And I don't know if it was my computer or their computer or both, but I wasn't able to get the statement back in time to actually collect the signature, so I didn't have a thing in there. And I'm wondering how often that happens, and do you think this is something we should be concerned about?
Yeah, it is something that we should be concerned about. And I'm not sure if we're talking about the same thing, but the Secretary of State, the very Secretary of State that thinks that she can successfully transfer those records from the DMV to the Secretary of State, her website was hacked. I think it was from China or something like that. But her website was hacked during the campaign last year.
Yeah,
And was that the same thing you're talking about? Yeah, and that caused a lot of problems. It did. It shut down the website for about 3 weeks during kind of the active part of the campaign season. And so we can't think that we can just, as a state, just push a button and cause data to flow directions that we want it to flow and have that be successful all the time. So maybe a little healthy skepticism is in order on this.
Yeah. And I testified against the bill, and one of my concerns is, okay, I've registered people. I'm a third-party activist, and I've talked to people, and like I've talked to 18-year-olds and got them to register to vote. Talked to people that were registered years ago, but they haven't been voting, so they've been taken off the rolls, and so they needed to re-register. Okay, the whole process of registering someone to vote takes probably less than a minute. So why is it imperative? Now, one thing I'm asking, if they're not willing to spend a minute, or probably closer to 45 seconds, filling out this card, are they going to take the time? And one of the things I do like about the Secretary of State's office is the voter's pamphlet, gives people an opportunity to tell what you're about. But if they don't care enough to take 45 seconds to fill out the card, are they going to spend 5 minutes reading the voter's pamphlet? So just how informed are these new voters, that they're really excited about? How informed are they going to be?
Yeah, and to your point, the bar is really low. Not only can you fill out that card in 45 seconds, or so I would contend even less than that, but and then you have to stick a stamp on it, whatever. But you don't even have to do that. Now you can register to vote online now, so it's even easier than that for most people. But I don't take the Secretary of State at face value at her word that she's interested in increasing participation, because when you mentioned collecting signatures, and I've done quite a bit of that. I've circulated petitions for ballot initiatives, and the Secretary of State's not interested in increasing your ease of participation when it comes to ballot measures. She throws out signatures that take time to gather and all that stuff, and regulates the thickness of the paper that you use and the color of the paper that you use, and there's all sorts of regulations that are put on by the Secretary of State where she could make it easier to do that. So she was in my office the other day lobbying for her bill there, and I put a challenge to her, and I said, I would be happy to vote for your bill, 2177, if you had it doesn't rhyme like motor voter, but I said it's motor initiative, and so everybody who goes and gets a driver's license, you sign them up for every petition that I'm carrying around there, and unless they opt out, right? And she didn't bite on that one. She wasn't worried about getting my support for that bill. But my point is that I don't take her at her word that she's interested in increasing participation. I think she's interested in increasing participation among people that she think will vote in a way that she wants them to vote. So, and people that are circulating petitions that she doesn't like, I don't think she's all that happy about increasing their participation.
Yeah, I noticed that there were some kids, probably early 20s, I'm guessing late teens, early 20s, carrying, they had this little sticker saying, yes, I'm motor voter.
I didn't see those.
Yeah, and so I'm suspecting they want these young kids who don't have any experience
And that's okay. Anybody who's over the age of 18 who's a citizen has a right to vote.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I would shame on anybody who tries to stop them from voting. But like I said, I think that the changing the paradigm from an opt-out to an opt-in, that's not healthy for democracy.
And I did, in the last election, I did register some 18-year-olds to vote. Yeah.
You can even, nowadays, you can register even when you're 17 years old, but they won't send you a ballot until you turn 18. But you can register a 17-year-old to vote.
They were talking about that today, and I remember voting. Yeah, one of the things I'd like to have back, voting for to allow 18-year-olds to vote. My philosophy was, well, if you can go to Vietnam at 18, you can go to you can vote. But I'm older and wiser now. So how did this? I don't remember voting on letting 17-year-olds register.
Yeah, I don't know when that came about, but I don't know that you can though. They'll accept your registration. They won't send you a ballot until you turn 18, but they'll let you register at age 17.
Interesting. Another bill that I suspect it's kind of hotly contested, because when I told Peter Courtney's staff, that's my senator, that I was hoping he'd vote no on Senate Bill 324, and you could see the look in their eyes. They knew what this bill was. I didn't have to explain it to them. I guess they've taken some heat on both sides. Tell us about Senate Bill 324.
Right. This is to repeal the sunset on the low carbon fuel standards that they have. And so what it's essentially going to do, it's going to force a cleaner blend of gasoline for Oregon. And the problem, there's several problems with it. So one of it is it's just it's kind of a giveaway to the green energy companies. So if you're a company that makes these low carbon fuel blends or something like that, then you'll get more business, whatever. So it's kind of a little bit of a corporate crony kind of thing, which I'm not all that pleased about. The other thing, what's really sad is I'm on the Transportation Ways and Means Committee too, this subcommittee for Transportation Ways and Means, and there's talk about a gas tax because some that are wanting to have the money spent on Oregon roads. If we pass Senate Bill 324, it's going to have the effect of a tax in that it's going to raise the price of fuels. I've seen estimates anywhere between 19 cents and $1.50. I think I think it's going to be probably about a quarter or something like that from what I hear. But it's going to raise the price of fuels. We don't even get that money to go spend it on roads or bridges or whatever we want to spend it on. So it's worse than a tax. It's a throwaway of money, and that's really unfortunate that we do that. And then further is the amount of carbon that it's going to save. I don't really think makes a dent in the amount of carbon that the Earth produces, or that's it's not going to really make a dent in the whole thing. So what we're going to do is once again we're going to cripple Oregon economically for kind of a low carbon pipe dream there, and so I'm really upset about this one. I think that as I hear through the session, I hear the support for this bill eroding more and more. I kind of hear rumors, and so we have yet to see whether that support will erode enough to cause the bill to fail. But we'll see. They're scooting it through the Senate as fast as they can, and then we'll get it over in the House in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks or something.
Yeah. Okay. I mentioned my senator, Peter Courtney, and the other senator that has a large portion of this viewing audience is Jackie Winters. Where's Peter Courtney and Jackie Winters? Where do they stand on this bill?
Boy, I just don't know. I don't know either. I assume that. No, I have heard that Peter Courtney was not all that favorable to it. So, but apparently he's letting it get a vote in the Senate, and so I assume he'll vote yes on it. So, and I'm not sure where Jackie Winters is. I'm gonna. If I had to guess, I'd say she's a no on it. But I'm honestly I'm not sure.
So anybody, if you're watching this program, if you live if you live in North Salem, Northeast, which is where I live, you definitely live in Peter Courtney's district. And the middle of Salem, much of that is Peter Courtney, all the way to, I think, Kubler. Then West Salem and South Salem are Jackie Winters.
And Monmouth and Independence.
Yeah, Monmouth and Independence. So call both Peter Courtney and Jackie Winters, let them know that you want a no vote on both of these issues.
Or send me an email and tell me to vote no on it also too. I like to hear from people. I have to say that the fan mail has been running pretty heavily. I want to say over 10-1 to vote yes on it. So I think that some of the green groups have very organized support of this. So that's not going to affect me. I think I'm still a clear no on this. But the fan mail's running well over 10-1 in favor of it. So.
Yeah, and if they're sending you 10-1, it's pretty safe to say the others are getting 10-1 also,
Yes,
at least.
probably.
So definitely contact your legislators and let them know that you're a no vote. And speaking of contacting legislators, if you think it's a bad idea for the DMV and the Secretary of State's office to make people automatic registered voters, you can contact, like if you live in north of Market Street, you're in, most likely you're in Betty Comp's district.
Mm-hmm.
North of Kubler and part of, and east of Lancaster, you're probably in Brian Clem's district. And West Salem and part of South Salem would be Paul Evans, and Jody Hack is South Salem. So whichever area you live in, call these representatives, tell them that you want a no vote on 2177, which is making people automatically registered voters. Stupid idea, I think. What other bills are coming up that we need to be concerned about?
Well, let's see. So, well, we just passed the class action lawsuit reform there, so that one's, the horse is out of the barn on that, and it's on the way to the Senate there. So I voted against that. That was House Bill 2700. So you still have a chance to write your senators on that one, but we're done with that one in the House. Let's see. There's There's House Bill 2828, which is it's to finance a health care study there for what's the best way to fund health care in Oregon, and I'm working with Barbara Smith Warner. She's up in Portland. I'm working with her, Representative Barbara Smith Warner, on that one, to try and get some more objectivity into the study. I'm worried that that in that one the cake is going to be baked for single payer, and so I'm hoping that if I work with her that we can get a more objective study done that will give us some truer answers there. So I'm hopeful that she'll let me do that. So
yeah, I noticed they had a rally today. People carrying signs, some of them with cigarettes in one hand, sign in the other, talking about universal health care.
That's funny.
But I noticed that a lot of these people are in the age group that if they get one system like they're talking about, and it's going to be government run, okay, look at what the government's done to the veterans, what kind of care they're getting. And what makes these people think that they're going to get any better? And especially, now, maybe I'm just paranoid, but I'm over 45 years old. If we get the single payer, government run health care that these people say they want, what are the chances that they're going to be spending a lot of money on people my age? And most of these people that were holding these signs calling for universal health care are my age. So do you think the health care is going to be good for us, or?
Yeah. Well, they're gonna have to take it out of somebody's hide,
Yeah.
and so people like you who are 46 years old are gonna may take the brunt of that, and those are the people that maybe need it the most. The good news is that there's a lot of movement on healthcare issues right now, and I wasn't a big fan of the CCOs when they first came out. But and I'm still not sure if I am now, although I get some people telling me that they are. I think that part of the reason that that people like the CCOs right now is because there was some extra federal money put into them, and then when that runs out, then we'll see if people still feel the same way. But and it's possible by then that we'll have figured things out a little bit better. But I think there's some things that have needed to change about healthcare. One of them is that you have kind of some perverse incentives in the healthcare thing where the person who is the consumer of the service, me, that I don't get to be the buyer of the service. My employer, in most cases, picks the healthcare. And so my boss goes out and has lunch with the guy from XYZ Healthcare or something like that, and that's how I purchase something. Now I wouldn't put up with that if that was how my groceries were. Like my boss went out with the guy from Roth's and they decided this was my grocery plan, or they got together and decided that I was going to drive a Toyota or whatever. We wouldn't put up with that, but we seem to put up with that with healthcare. So I think that one of the things that we need to do is we need to stop having it being provided by our employers, and we need to have it so that the consumer of the product is actually the person who's the purchaser of the product and the payer for the product. So that we have some incentives that are lined up there. So and we have some things where if I work for a certain company, that I get the great plan that they have, and maybe that's not where I want to put my dollars. Maybe I would like to have, maybe I'm a fairly healthy person, and I'd like to have a high deductible and have a health savings account for myself. Maybe I have a lot of young kids, and I just need the security of having a fairly comprehensive plan. So there's, but you don't get that. You get a little bit of shopping to do, but you don't get to really truly shop for health care the way we should. And then if I have a problem with my health care provider and I complain to them, they don't have to listen to me because they take their marching orders from my boss who chose them and not me. So I think we need to break up that relationship. And I'm sure most employers would just as soon just get out of doing health care as it is and just say, here you go, here's the money we used to pay for your health care. We're just going to add that to your check. You go and you get the tax advantage, not the employer anymore, and you go buy your own health care that you want there. So something like that needs to be done. And at the very least, even if we don't like some of the directions that we're going with health care right now, at least we're going to get some of these new ideas are going to creep in and do that. That'll make a difference.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned you were the single no vote on House Bill 2700.
No, not that one. No, there was most of the Republicans. I think it was pretty much of a party line vote on 2700. Yeah,
well,
that was the class action reform bill. Yeah, and so
tell the viewers a little bit more about that so they can call
so
the senators.
What that is so when you have a class action lawsuit. So a class action lawsuit is when you get these little postcards in the mail. Sometimes say, oh, you might have bought a Panasonic toaster or something like that, and there's a class action lawsuit because Panasonic designed it wrong or something like that. And so you're identified as a plaintiff in this. If you send this postcard in, then you'll get $5 back or something like that, right? Yeah, some people send them in or whatever. And if you don't send that in, the courts require them to try to identify all the plaintiffs there, all the possible injured parties. And sometimes they can't. Sometimes it's just not practical to do that. If they can't identify all the plaintiffs, then there's some money left over. And right now, Oregon has a case where if they can't identify all the plaintiffs, then the guilty party, in this case the manufacturer of the toaster or whatever, gets to just keep that money. And that kind of, and I agree with the Democrats in a sense that that kind of doesn't make sense, that the guy who's guilty, if he can't identify all the people who are injured, that he gets to keep the money. But what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to give it to legal aid, and which is just kind of a payback to the trial lawyers there, and then and then some other charity that the judge decides is in the interest of people who like to eat toast or something like that, right? So
or whoever his wife or boyfriend or whatever company they work for.
That could be too. Although we hope our judges behave a little bit better than that, but that's possible. And and that's called CPRE, which is a French term in legal thing, which is kind of it's a similar interest to what those people would be interested in. And there's a national standard for what to do, and I think it's like 34 states or something like that, or have signed on to a national standard for what to do with leftover class action money. And so the Republicans did a minority report, which is we're trying to substitute our version of the bill for their version of the bill, and it's kind of a procedural thing. And so we proposed doing what would effectively be the federal standard for distribution of that money, and not the Democrat payoff to the trial lawyers thing. So anyway,
Yeah,
that's what that bill was about.
yeah, because I'm not real pleased with what I see in the judicial system to begin with. So, yeah. Now, I understand there's going to be some bills try to get us out of Common Core.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about what you mentioned. I think that you're on the Education Committee.
I'm on the higher ed committee, so that doesn't really have
so it
anything to do
doesn't
with Common Core. But Carl Wilson is the deputy minority leader, and I think it's him. He has a bill to get us out of Common Core. So it wasn't the state legislature that got us into Common Core. It was actually the State Department of Education that mandated that for all schools there. So, but we can do something about it legislatively. We can say that we don't want to do this. I think Common Core, we've pulled back the curtain and pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I think we've exposed Common Core for what it is, and I think that there's quite a bit of movement across the country to kind of move away from Common Core. So I'm optimistic that we can do something with that. We don't really have the Republicans, the conservatives, the friends of good, solid constitutional government don't really have the numbers to run the table there. So, but Common Core, I think, has been it's fallen out of favor with even teachers, so that we're likely to get possibly the teachers' unions, which would be crossing the aisle on that, or you could look at it, we're crossing the aisle to them. However you look at it, doesn't matter if we get the job done.
Sure.
So it's possible we could get some support to do that. So I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic and willing to do what it takes to get that done. So
Yeah, I witnessed a hearing the other day, and there were teachers saying that this whole standardized test that they're using is just a waste of time and energy and making money for the wrong people.
yeah.
I've got 21 seconds left. Anything you want to say in that 20 seconds?
I blog on, if you want to read what I say, I blog on Oregon Catalyst. If you go to OregonCatalyst.org, and you can find my blogs on there. And I have a blog coming up soon on recreational marijuana, and then I have another one coming up soon, possibly on Article 5. So,
Okay, thank you.
thanks for having me.